Hello, everybody. It's time for another Gaia's Call 2.0, as you can tell, because I'm here with my lovely co-host, Marla of the Eco Chapter. And today it's kind of a update. A lot has been happening in our personal lives and in the world. And there's a relationship between those two, I say. And we want to just kind of explore how we're dancing with what's happening in the world. So maybe to start with, to kind of give a framework, because this is being recorded, and we're not sure exactly when it will air. Uh, but where we are on is April the 16th, at
Fifth,
least here on
I
this
mean,
side of the world. Are you in the
fifth.
17th? So we've been in there's been a war going on for the past six to 7 weeks, I believe it is. And no signs of it ending anytime soon. Um, and that's really not the primary thing we want to talk about. We want to, talk about how, again, in the fact that a lot is happening in the world, a lot that you could say is, I would say, an acceleration of the meta crisis, poly crisis happening. How do how have we been dealing with it? So that's kind of where I'm saying we're going. And how about you, Marla? What would you like to add about that?
No, totally. I mean, I think we're both dealing with this war and the showcase of the polycrisis in terms of like what's going on in the news and in the everyday world. And I think we're both with it in different ways, but kind of similar. So yeah, no, I know, Brad, that you just put out an article about you moving and I've also
Yeah,
moved, so like let's just talk about that. The
the moves that we're making
moves that we're making.
in
Yes.
our own way of adjusting to life happening at a breakneck speed here lately. Um, so yeah, so this is something that we, meaning my wife and I, have been talking about for quite a bit, talking about and collaborating with our daughter. Our daughter Amber is 30, mid 30s. I'm just going to say, 'cause, you know, I get nervous when I start talking about women and their ages because they get offended. um, and we have, our grandkids, Logan 5 and Piper 3, who are going to be moving here to our loving homestead, as I like to refer to it as, which means that my wife and I will be moving from the upstairs area, which is actually 2 floors, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, something like 2,300 square feet, which, even by American standards, is, I think, a pretty palatial large area, down to a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, about 1,000 square foot, not nearly as much storage space, so that, the family can come and live, upstairs. So both were excited about it, and it's a big move for us, both physically, because we are in a, as I call it, purposeful purging mode, taking 32 years of stuff that has accumulated and not just tossing it, but trying to repurpose it to other families who can benefit from it. We have become rock stars in the Facebook Buy Nothing group. Um, Several people, as we are purposely purging, are saying, man, you guys are giving away some really good stuff. And we are. And because we don't have need for it. So that's a real part of it, is the process of simplifying our life by simplifying our stuff itself and letting it go and releasing it, and the process of mentally, like, is this something, do I need it? Do I love it? No, let's move it along. So trying to do it as thoughtfully as possible. So that's my introduction to our move. How about for you, Marla? You keep moving around so much. I don't even know where where you are in any given week. So
Yeah, no, but it's similar. I mean, I keep moving around because like I feel drawn to find a place that I feel like home. And for me, home is really nature. And I've been out of Singapore since like October. I've been coming back and forth and back and forth. But I did something very similar earlier this year, and I also gave away lots of the stuff and even the cat that I rescued during COVID. I ended up giving her away because I was traveling so much and I didn't think it was fair, and she was only 3 at the time. So I felt like she would have a better life somewhere else. But I've also been giving away everything in my house, and now I live in 2 carry-on backpacks. It's literally all I have. And I've also just moved into a small apartment. It's a studio, so I have a literally a gas burner sitting in front of the computer table where I'm sitting at right now, a yoga mat, a bed, and a bathroom. But I have the ocean about 20-minute walk away from me. I have monkeys in the trees. There are chipmunks and squirrels everywhere. There are birds every morning. And yeah, like, like being in this situation with the war and how close the end of the world could possibly be, I decided I would rather be here among nature and a place that I've come to so many times. I've been here 6 times, and every time I'm here, I never want to leave. So I decided I'm just going to sit here for a little while and kind of weather out the storm, and be surrounded by things that I love, which is really with nature. There's elephants here, there's peacocks in the street, there are buffalo everywhere. Very different lifestyle to my life in Singapore. But yeah, also downsizing big time. But yeah, so this life of sufficiency, like what do we really need? What's really important to us, when it comes to something as scary as a war and possibly the end of the world. Where do we want to be? And I guess for you, it's really with your kids and your grandkids. And for me, it's always been nature. And this is kind of where I run to.
yeah, yeah, and you bring up sufficiency. And I think it's a good opportunity to kind of create further context as to what's been shaping my actions. Um, I've been writing about for over a year now, year and a half, this whole process of uncovering, first off, the 4 great untruths that have been shaping our society, our civilization for hundreds of years, maybe 400 or 500 years at least, and also looking at the 4 great truths. And what I mean by great truths is, number one, they are backed by both, science and indigenous wisdom, and they are in service of life, not against life. And sufficiency is one of the important ones, one of the great truths, which the way I live it and state it and uh, recite it to myself each morning as my one cause vow is sufficiency is that there is always enough when we remember how to share. And it's that piece of it for me is the remembering how to share. When I look out into the world, uh, and I even look, I don't have to even look out far into the world, just look in my own life. The a massive amount that my wife and I have accumulated over the 32 years that we've been living here. And now it's so freeing to be sharing a lot of it with other people, again, rather than just sending it to the landfill, sharing it with other people who appreciate it, can use it, uh, uh, and keep it serving its own purpose, as it were. So we can talk about, the other great truths as well here, but let's continue deep in that, how do you see living from a place of sufficiency empowers you?
Yeah, I mean, like in Singapore, we're one of the probably the richest country in the world, and like I obviously didn't grow up in that kind of life, but was surrounded by it, and like in when I was a kid, your idea of success was the five C's, so it was like cash, car, condominium, credit card, and career, and that's how people judge their lives of success. And for me, it was like so different because I went to Australia, I went backpacking in South America, and now I'm here living in a studio apartment later in my years. So for me, it's really like, I also write about sufficiency all the time. I've also written co-authored a book called Dreams of Unwritten Futures, where we talk a lot about the future being something that we all have enough, we all share, we're all in communities, we're all in, reciprocity with each other. And like for me, it was really like also how can I say and write all these things with being in such a spoilt place, like a privileged place of privilege. Um, and I knew what was important to me was nature. Like for me, is the ocean. I'm a diver, and yeah. So it was really like, okay, then if this is the end of the world, where do I want to be? I want to be there. I want to be in a place where I don't need anything. I have enough clothes to cover myself for the rest of my life. In two little backpacks. I have my computer, I can work, and I have the ocean, next door, like literally next door. And for me, that's kind of showing people that it's possible. Like I have nothing that I'm lacking, that's why it's sufficiency. It's not I am lacking anything. I'm not sacrificing anything to be
Mhm.
here. If anything, I'm luckier than I would have been in Singapore, I guess, because I don't have to deal with the traffic. I don't have to deal with dressing up to go to work in an office with air conditioning. I'm literally walking around in whatever I want to wear, and I work online, and I'm here, in nature. So I feel that many people want this, but very few are are think that it could be possible. I think many people know that yes, family, community, nature is what they want, but they are so used to this life of having all these creature comforts, all this luxury of, I don't know, crazy condominiums with unnecessary things. They just look pretty, but do they do anything? And I feel like a lot of people, especially in my world, are scared to let that go and to just be like,
Mhm.
yes, I have enough, and that's okay, and I'm happy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of also scarcity versus sufficiency, which I think is a huge uh, dilemma of like I don't have enough versus I have enough. Even if I have nothing, I have enough.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think what I hear that I want to kind of underline a bit is when you choose something versus having it done to you.
of course.
Because we're at this point where a lot of people are going to lose a lot of
Yeah,
what they depended on. They're even now, with the energy crisis and the oil shortage and gasoline shortage, people are finding, gosh, I don't have enough gas to get me to my work and all that.
yeah,
But when you're
uh,
choosing something,
yeah,
we're choosing to simplify, both of us in our own way.
yeah,
There's something much more enriching and satisfying about that. I
yeah,
mean, there's the challenges of, how do we do it mindfully and carefully and, in service to nature as much as possible. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
But at the same
And
time, it's very satisfying knowing that we're choosing our relationship with our uh, daughter and son-in-law and grandkids over
yeah, no,
and
but I mean, for
find that to be
me,
very freeing.
For me, it's also like I'm now in a developing third world country versus Singapore. Singapore is kind of the global north, whereas Sri Lanka is the global south. And
Mm,
I'm witnessing firsthand how people have no gas, they have no power, they have 25 liters of petrol for the week, and it's a QR code system because there's so many rations. And then it really shows how much we waste, like because in I guess first world countries, like you also said, like we have so much stuff. We have so much. And we don't realize that we have so much stuff because we just keep accumulating, and it's nature to hoard stuff. It's also nature to take more, to be on top of other people. Whereas when you go to somewhere like here, it's really a wake-up call of like, the people here don't have anything. I mean, not that they don't have anything, they have everything. But different kinds of things. They have
yeah.
everything in terms of nature, they have family, they have time. We have offices and air conditioning and fancy clothes. So for me, it's also like it was also important to come to some place where I could just kind of ground myself in like what was important, because I feel also like that many people forget. For you, it's like you already live in nature, you're with your family, whereas most people also forget that that's important. We spend so much time in offices and in jobs,
Mm,
working all the time, and we forget that, family, friendships, uh, just also being on your own, is so important to life.
yeah. Yeah. Very good. So as we begin to kind of wind this up, one of the things I do want to go back and, you know, be clear, it's not like either one of us has, quote, the answer.
No.
We all are floundering our way through this
Life.
period of time that nobody in history,
No.
at least modern history, has fully experienced, a polycrisis of such complexity. And so this whole thing, when I talk about the four great truths, is a framework, I guess you could say, a way of looking at and exploring what would life be like living as though these four great truths are actually true and earth honoring. So number one, interconnectedness. Each morning I remind myself that we are uh, each of us an intricable connection. We have an intricable connection to the web of life. And for so many of us, we've forgotten that. So to daily remind ourselves, myself of that. The sufficiency that we've talked about, that there is always enough when we remember how to share. The law of nature is reciprocity, the giving and receiving in balance as we're doing that, which again, we have not been, we've been taking so much from Mother Earth without giving back. So to begin to shift that. And then the last part is stewardship, that we really are stewards of the earth and for the earth, and uh, not here to dominate the earth, as we're finding out. As that commercial that I still remember from many, many years ago said, it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature. And, we got to respect that relationship with Mother Nature and with, Father, Son, and whatever that would be. So to be able to explore these different great truths and live as though they are actually in alignment with what nature is asking, of us. So anything you'd like to share about that as we wind up?
No, I mean, coming back to writing, I think like for me, the idea of the book project that we did was also this idea of a better future narrative. That's the whole book project that we did. And when you ask most people, straight away they will say, what is a better future narrative? They say, oh, money. If I had more money, if I had a private jet, if I had a bigger house, I would be happy. And then I would stop. But actually, that's not what usually happens. Like, it's usually this time that you have to spend with people that you love, to do the things that you love. Um, and that is usually when you put them aside, they're like, yeah, that's actually what I want. So I think my closing statement is really like for people to sit and think about what would be a better future narrative, in a time where it feels like the world's going to end tomorrow. Where would you like to be? Who would you like to be with? Um, yeah, like what would your last days be like, and like why don't we live every day like that, rather than um thinking that we're invincible and that we're going to live forever, because I think it's quite clear that that's not going to happen.
Right.
But of course, coming from a place of privilege, for sure, I mean, we can choose. But then the people who can choose would also make it easier for the people who cannot choose, because you would put
Mm.
less, kind of burden on the whole system, by simplifying life and living in sufficiency. So yeah, I think that would be my closing words. Just think about where would you want to be if this week was your last week? What would you want to do? Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And as we wind up, again, we're here in service of humanity and Mother Earth as we go through as courageously as we can this breakdown of the poly crisis itself. And if you know of people who we should be connecting with, that who we can then share their stories and what they're up to dealing with this period in our lives, please let us know, especially if they are young people who are making a difference, in these various ways. We'd love to have some young people come on, and because they are inheriting a interesting time in history for sure. So,
Yeah,
okay.
definitely. Yeah. Thank
All
you
right.
all for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.